Ohio State could land a game-changing recruiting double today with Cincere Johnson and Luke Waffle on deck.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to your Thursday edition of Locked On Buckeyes, which is your daily Ohio State podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, veteran sports talk host, delivering passionate coverage about your Buckeyes. And today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. During today's show, we will dive into Damon Arnett's return to the NFL, as well as what the playoff format might look like in 2026. But first, it's commitment day for two of Ohio State's priority targets in Cincere Johnson and Luke Waffle. Johnson, a linebacker, Waffle, an edge. Both guys are high on the Buckeyes board. And if the Buckeyes are able to land both guys today, that would be huge. It would be a massive boost because these two guys would not only make Ohio State's 26 class a whole lot better, these two guys have the makings of being multi-year starters in college football. And if you can land both of them on the same day, shortly after they take official visits to Ohio State, it can lead to 2 or 3, maybe 4 more commitments over the next 3 to 4 weeks because guys are looking at what's going on now and saying, well, if Cincere Johnson's going there, I want to play with him, so I'm going there too. If Luke Waffle's going there, I'm going to go where he's going because I want to play there too. It could be the type of domino effect for Ohio State in recruiting that could lead to the Buckeyes having the number one class in the country. Cincere Johnson's commitment time is today at 12:30. A young man from Cleveland, Ohio, right there in Glenville, and it doesn't take it long when watching him play to see what kind of man he is. This young man is a dog, standing at 6'3", 240 pounds. The belief is that it's down to Ohio State and Alabama battling for the talented linebacker. He already has the size and the build to come in and not be one of those guys that have to put on 15, 20 pounds when they go to the next level. No, he already has the frame. You're just going to add to it. Just going to tune it up. Just going to make it a whole lot better. He already is right there to come in and contribute. And I think James Laurinaitis being on staff and being a former Buckeye too, I think that's a big part of it. I think that combination is very big for Cincere Johnson's recruitment. Because if I'm a young man, especially playing in Ohio, why would I look anywhere else but Ohio State when the guy that would be coaching me every single day is a 3-time consensus All-American? That's unheard of. Ohio State's had a lot of great players throughout the history of the program. There aren't many of them that have been 3-time consensus All-Americans. C.J. Stroud, let's just go recently. Wasn't it? Caleb Downs? Well, he's only played 2 years. Maybe down the road. At the end of the day, Jeremiah Smith, will he be a 3-time consensus All-American? Probably should be. Who else is out there? Paris Johnson Jr.? No. DeJuan Jones? No. Wyatt Davis? No. The list goes on and on. Tommy Eichenberg? No. Lincoln Ransom? No. Justin Fields? No. The fact that he has that on his resume is something I think these kids that are very, very smart and know what to look for when they want to try to find a place to play football in the future, I think they see that and say, so he did that as a player. Everywhere Laurinaitis has gone as a coach, people have raved about him and discussed how well he is in recruiting and how he makes connections. And even as a GA, he was doing all the right things and making all the right connections. And now he's entering year 2 as a Buckeyes linebacker coach. And my hope for Laurinaitis is that he has a Heartline type run on as an assistant coach where you come in, you make your mark, you figure out what makes you, and then you find a way to be the best position coach in the country, best developer of talent. You're the best at what you do. You recruit at the highest level. You put all the guys that you coach that are the top guys, they go in the first round. That's my hope for James Laurinaitis. Not just because I'm a Buckeye. I host the Buckeye show and I'm covering Ohio State. Just for him as an individual. I've always enjoyed Laurinaitis, and I want to have it. I hope he succeeds in the future. Luke Waffle is the other individual that's committing today at 2 p.m. Eastern. Luke Waffle is a talented young man, standing about 6'5.5", about 245 pounds, from Princeton, New Jersey. This young man, for the longest time, people didn't know where he was going to go. Didn't really have the handle or weren't able to guess where he might land. But Steve Wiltfong of On3 predicted that he would end up going to Ohio State. There are other projections on 24/7 Sports site that are projecting that Luke Waffle will go to Ohio State. For the longest, maybe it was USC. Penn State and Florida are also in the mix there. Those were all places that Luke Waffle took official visits. And when you're taking those official visits to those places, you got to really wonder, is that where he's going to go? But I think when it comes to Ohio State and Larry Johnson, there's a major need for guys like Luke Waffle on the roster. Yeah, you got guys in the portal and Bo Atkinson and Logan George. But when you look at Caden Curry and Kenyatta Jackson, outside of those four, it's not even that guys are unproven. It's just that you can't even project what guys can be or what guys will be. It's very tough to do. But with Luke Waffle, yeah, first year, he's probably not going to start, be in rotation, possibly be in rotation. But years 2 and 3, I view him as a multi-year starter and a guy that would be perfect, not just for Larry Johnson, just because he's talented, but he'd be perfect for what Matt Patricia wants on a guy that plays on the edge. Now, the thing about Matt Patricia is you have no idea how long he's going to be there. You don't. You have no idea. But if Matt Patricia leaves, you almost are going to get another guy that's a similar mindset to Patricia. Now, he probably won't have the accolades and the wins and Super Bowl rings in his collection, but Ryan Day preaches versatility. Ryan Day preaches multiplicity on defense. He doesn't want you to just sit there in the 4-2-5. Shake things up. Make things very difficult for the opposing quarterback and opposing offensive coordinator. So it's not just that is what Matt Patricia does. That's what Ryan Day does. And I think going forward, you're going to see Ryan Day have more of a Nick Saban approach to assistant coaches, where you're going to get Ryan Day to bring guys in that want multiple fronts, that want players that can play all over the field. If you're playing edge, can you play 3-tech? If you play 3-tech, can you play 1-tech? If you're a rush end, can you also be an off-ball linebacker? If you are playing outside corner, can you play nickel corner? You want those kinds of guys because that type of versatility is going to be needed for Ohio State to be as successful as they want to be. Last but not least, it's not a guy that's going to be committing today, but a young man that's going to be committing next week. It is Aaron Thomas, 6'7", 300-pound offensive tackle from Phoenix, Arizona, also in the class of 2026. Aaron Thomas is down to 5 schools. He announced his commitment date. Well, commitment will come next week. Did not give a day and a time, but the schools that he's kind of thinking about going to: Washington, Florida State, Texas A&M, Ohio State, and Texas. None of them in the state of Arizona. Not surprised by that. Arizona State, pretty good. Arizona, okay. None of them are on the same level of these other schools. So that's another player to look for and to watch. Not committing today, committing next week. He's a 3-star kid that has the opportunity to be really good down the road. It would be a big get for Ohio State. I don't think that kills their pursuit of Felix Ojo or other elite offensive tackles in the class. Speaking of pursuit of things in the future, there are certain conference commissioners that are pursuing a new format for the playoff in 2026. What will that format look like? We'll discuss that next. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now, I budget smarter and save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Thank you all for tapping Lost on Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. Ohio State's in a very weird spot. You know who else is also in a weird spot? Alabama, Florida State, Florida, Clemson, South Carolina, UConn, Rutgers, Michigan, Arizona State, Arizona, Washington State, Oregon State, USC. You might be wondering, Jay, where are you going with this? Because this doesn't make any sense. Well, that last part is true because what's going on with the playoff format for 2026 doesn't make any sense at all. The conference commissioners have decided to start over and trying to figure out the playoff format for 2026. This is coming from a report via Brett McMurphy, where I'm not mad about them scrapping some of the idiotic ideas that they've proposed. I don't like that they're starting over or starting from scratch because in reality, you're not starting from scratch. You're saying that to get the message out there that we're throwing everything else out the window and trying something new, when in reality, you know what you like. You know what you think is the best thing for you, best thing for the schools in your conference, but you are having an issue with what your best is, what your best idea is, might not match the coaches that are inside the conference you represent. So here's some stuff going on with the playoff format that you'll find confusing. The Big Ten and the SEC initially wanted 4 automatic qualifiers each. That's stupid. With 2 each to the ACC and the Big 12. That's also stupid. Here's what gets a little bit weirder. The ACC and the Big 12 pushed back. SEC coaches later publicly did not support 4 automatic qualifier model, and instead preferring 5 automatic qualifiers plus 11 at-large format for a 16-team playoff, as did the ACC and the Big 12. Is it normal for you to go against your boss or to go against someone that can find your school? No, that's not normal at all. But for the SEC coaches to publicly go against what Greg Sankey has been saying about the playoff and what they thought would be best for the conference, I'm glad they did it. I think exercising their voice and voicing their opinion was desperately needed, because if this sport made a decision to have 4 automatic qualifiers and then 2 automatic qualifiers, 4 for the Big Ten and the SEC, 2 for the ACC and the Big 12, I think that would be stupid. It would not make sense. It wouldn't be what's best for the sport. So I am not mad. I think it's very wise for the SEC coaches to voice their opinion. Here's where things get a little bit weirder. The SEC wants more value given to strength of schedule metrics. That's weird because I'm pretty sure on every school's schedule, they play FCS school. And a lot of them play an FCS school right before their biggest rivalry game of the year. And so if you want to view the strength of schedule metric to help you, take that game off the schedule. Also, here's something that would help you a lot. Help the sport in general. Have unified scheduling. Now, that's difficult when the conferences run the sport. When you have the Big Ten having power and the SEC having power and the ACC having power and the Big 12 having power, they have their own officiating crews. They have their own officiating oversight. They punish their schools how they see fit. When that's the way the sport is run, it's no surprise that the strength of schedule metric wouldn't even work here, especially in their favor, because there's no unified scheduling. I know it sounds crazy, but why won't college football just follow the NFL's model? You'll never be the NFL. You'll never be king if you follow the NFL's model. However, a lot of the back and forth and a lot of the weird conversations that people are having in these meetings, they wouldn't be happening because the NFL's model, now you can't have owners of teams and things like that because you technically do because the school owns a team. So, there's some similarities, but these are still student athletes. They still got to go to class or have class, may it be online. They still have to do certain things to be academically eligible to play. So you can't go full NFL mode, but just follow their model. If you win your division, you're into the NFL. And then the next two teams, or the teams that are right there in the rankings, they get in. Now, it is very difficult for college football because they don't play 16, 17, 18, eventually 18 games. They don't play that number of games. If they did, it'd be a whole. Let's say college football played 16 regular season games. It'd be a whole lot easier to decide who the playoff would be because you have a larger sample size, and the teams that aren't contenders, true contenders to win a national championship, would weed themselves out. You can't do that. No. Not the way school is mapped up. You're not going to start playing college football in the beginning of August. You're not going to do that to add 3 or 4 more games. You're not going to do that. However, that would be a massive way to help figure out who the best teams in the country are. This whole thing is weird, man. This is one more thing left from Brett McMurphy's report. The deadline for finalizing the 2026 playoff format is December 1st. And here's my question to you. If you're on the YouTube right now, or even if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, leave a 5-star review and let me know. Do you think that they will get a decision made and a format announced before Thanksgiving? Yes, I know that it's a few days before December 1st, but it's a valid question. Because with the way this sport is ran, and with the way things have gone lately, I got a hard time believing they're not going to wait till the very last minute to make a decision. Let's remember, the Big Ten and the SEC have all the power. All the power. They didn't have to start over. They're the two conferences that get to decide what the format's going to be in 2026 and beyond. Is it going to expand to 16? Will it be at 14? Will it be at 24? That's to be determined. But they have all the power. And I'm very, very glad that the SEC coaches spoke up and said, no, we don't like 4 automatic qualifiers. We want 5 plus 11. That's what I think would be the best thing for the entire sport. 5 plus 11, really, to me, you don't even give your G5 conference champ an automatic bid in. No, 4 plus 12, if we go to 16, let's just say you stay at 12, make it 4 plus 8, and let the thing go. You have so many different ways. You could say, win percentage. Okay, if you have some teams that are tied with win percentage, then you figure things out that way. You form your own tiebreakers, make those things make sense, and then you go that route. I'm here for that. I'm 100% here for it. I have never, ever, ever in my life believed that automatic qualifiers are the way to go. Or this past year where they said, hey, you may not be a top 4 team, but if you're one of the top 4 conference champions, you get a bye in the playoff. That doesn't make any sense. Here's something that Brett Murphy did not discuss in his reporting or give any hint about where these commissioners might be thinking. But if I'm a conference commissioner right now, one thing I am trying to do is find a way to have home conference games. Home playoff games. Get more of them. And so if there's a 16-team format, find a way to have every game on campus until the national championship. I know to ruffle some feathers of the old heads. I know that the bowl committees won't like losing big-time games at the end of the year. I understand it. But what's best for the sport? What's best for the sport is what makes college football so unique. I'm here for a playoff, man. 16 teams? No. 12 teams? No. But I think a playoff is needed in this sport. 100%. I'm not going to try and go backwards and say, no, let's go back to the BCS period where there are only 2 teams. While I didn't really oppose that, I was really kind of pushing back against the playoff format when it first happened. Even in the 14 playoff format, you can look at any given year and say, hey, there are only truly, most years, 3 teams that have a legitimate shot to win the national championship. There's a 14 playoff, but at most there were 3 real good teams that could win it. The 14 was there to fill a spot. Generally, they weren't going to win that thing. And so I don't like expansion. I never have. No, not a fan of it. But what expansion has done is allow for there to be big-time college football games played on campus, which is one thing that I think is going to be, we didn't get enough of it this year. My fear is that they're going to try to appease the bowl committees. So they're going to have a 16-team playoff instead of having the first 2 rounds on campus. They're going to have just 1 round on campus, and you're going to get me on this show saying, why are we doing this once again? The atmospheres at college football games are so unique, and they're so – it's one of the things that make college football so special. The Shoe, for example, one of the most iconic venues in the world is in Columbus, Ohio. One of the largest stadiums in the world, stadiums in general, is where Ohio State plays their home games. So why wouldn't Tony Petitti or Ross Bjork voice their opinions to make sure that there are potentially multiple home games in Columbus, Ohio in a given playoff year? I'm going to say, Jay, there aren't going to be students on campus. Okay. That doesn't mean a game can't be played there. Make it happen. Starting over for the playoff format seems a little weird, especially with where we are right now, but that's the way the cookie has crumbled. The cookie has crumbled in a positive way for Damon Arnett, because this young man is not only trending in a better direction after his year at the Houston Roughnecks of the UFL, he is going back to the National Football League. Thank you all for tapping Locked on Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. Damon Arnett's NFL career was one that I thought was over. I did not know that he was going to be able to have another opportunity to come to the National Football League, come back to the NFL, because I thought after what happened in Vegas, where he was making a lot of knucklehead type decisions, and then him trying to make the Dolphins and trying to make the Chiefs, but that didn't happen. And then all of a sudden he gets arrested a second and third time. I thought this man was not going to be someone that was going to be in the NFL for another opportunity, was going to have another opportunity to play in the NFL. Y'all, I was wrong. I was dead wrong. When I heard that he was going to the UFL to play for the Houston Roughnecks, I was excited for him. I was really, really happy. I was one that was rooting for him very, very hard, because I wanted him to succeed. I mean, I want all Buckeye players to succeed, but definitely Damon Arnett, because the young man just had trouble written all over him. Idiotic decision after idiotic decision after idiotic decision. I have no idea who his peers are or who his boys are. I have no idea. But all I know is that it's hard for me to believe that he was making these decisions and doing certain things without being pressured to do them, or was not being influenced by certain people that influenced some decisions that he made. And at the end of the day, what are we looking at? We're looking at a talented man that made some mistakes. That's true. But sometimes the mistakes we make, no matter how talented we are, can cause us to lose out on opportunities to do some things that we have dreamed about doing. And for Damon Arnett, I know we dreamed about playing in the NFL. Everybody and their mama that's in the NFL dreamed about playing there. Even if it wasn't something you dreamed about when you were a kid, when you got 18, 19, 20 years old, maybe you were overseas and all of a sudden you think about, man, I can go from being a rugby player to playing at the highest level of football in America. People dream about that stuff. So I know for a fact he did. And my gut tells me he probably dreamed about getting back into the National Football League too. The Texans, the Houston Texans, are bringing him back. Bringing him back to the NFL, bringing him in, and he has a shot to make another team in the NFL. I can't be happier for him. Now, he did something very, very smart. For all of the knucklehead type decisions he made, he did something very, very smart to set himself up in a way to have this opportunity. He played well for the Houston Roughnecks this past year in the UFL. 18 tackles, he had a sack, he had a pick six. He was one of the stars of the team, and he could have taken that opportunity and said, man, this ain't where I want to be. These ain't the people I want to be with. Yeah, I'm making money playing a child's game, which is true, but this is not where I want to be. No. I want to be at the higher level. He could have taken that road, got the opportunity, and then flopped, like some people are doing in the NFL. He could have excuse me, in the NBA. I'm thinking about the NBA Finals as I say that, with Game 6 being tonight. He could have had the opportunity to do those things, but no, he didn't. He took advantage of it. He saw the opportunity, and he carpe diem. He seized the day. I hope the bad days are behind him. I hope that moving forward, we find a young man that is getting his life right, getting the right people around him, getting the mentors that he needs. Maybe he needs to go to therapy. I don't know. I am not opposed to therapy at all. If you are someone, male or female, that is going to therapy or is even contemplating going to therapy, if you're going to therapy, go. If you're contemplating it, find a therapist, find a way to go to therapy because it's very beneficial. It's so helpful. As someone that's been to therapy myself, have I have firsthand experience of the benefits of it. I don't normally go off and throw advice out there like this on this show, but trust me, if you are a person that is on the fence about going to therapy, go. Damon Arnett, I'm here for it. But it's also a lesson to all of us in the fact that we can make mistakes, we can flop, we can make some really idiotic decisions, but those don't have to define us. It would have been very, 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 very easy for Damon Arnett to allow his past to define him and for him to not try to write another chapter. You can't get away from that narrative, from that story, but you can change a narrative about you. It would have been so easy for him to say, well, man, I got this against me. I got that against me. I'm just going to go into a corner. I'm going to go away from people that know me. I'm not going to try to change anything. No, but he's trying to fix some stuff, and I'm here for it. For current Ohio State players, this is also a lesson to them as well, as Ryan Day has done a very good job of bringing players in that generally don't have these issues. Now, it's going to be a player here or there, and I know a few years ago there was a player that quit during a game. And so there are certain things that, like, yeah, you can try to prevent certain things, but you can't prevent everything, and that's true. But for every Ohio State player, it would be so helpful if they viewed this situation as a learning experience. And maybe Ryan Day down the road is going to bring Damon Arnett in to talk to the players and say, hey, look, man, this is what happened to me. This is what I was doing. These are the people around me. These are the decisions I was making. And it really messed up my career. I mean, I was out of the NFL. He didn't play an NFL game from 2021 until potentially 2025. 2021 and 2022, during those off seasons, or it was either an off-season thing or a practice squad thing with the Chiefs and the Dolphins. But outside of the Raiders, he hasn't played an NFL game with any other team. That's sad. For as talented as this man was, a former first-round pick from Fort Lauderdale, for this to happen to him, I wouldn't wish this on anybody. And I hope Ryan Day brings him in and let him talk to the players. I hope he does. Because if you're 18, 19, 20, 21 years old and you go from not having any money, living with your parents, which is you're supposed to do that as a kid, to all of a sudden $500,000 a year, $1.3 million a year, you got the money, you got the fame, you're on national TV, you got girls throwing themselves at you, you got people trying to take advantage of you, you got people trying to influence you, you got people that are bad influences that are trying to disguise themselves as good influences. Next thing you know, you realize your gut was right and things are not going the way that they should go. Bring somebody like this in that has a connection to Ohio State, that was good at Ohio State, was great at Ohio State, actually, was a first-round pick, that made mistakes, that got arrested, that got out of the NFL, tried a couple times, but wasn't able to get back on the NFL field, had to go to a lower level to get back to where he wants to go. Conversations like that during the offseason with a football team can help prevent players from making stupid decisions that ultimately cause them to not accomplish the goals they have set out to accomplish on the football field. Thank you all for tapping Locked on Buckeyes right here on a Thursday and making this show your first listen of the day. For your second listen, check out the portal because my guy, Brian Smith, he's got all the info on the portal. Yeah, he's got all the info on the changes in college football and all the info on the recruiting. You can find the portal and Locked On Buckeyes on the YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can follow me on any social media platform at jstevens07. Send every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. This has been Locked On Buckeyes right here on a Thursday. We'll see you next time.